For our first day of geometry, we are going to get started with transformations. So a transformation is an operation that maps. This is going to be like literally just it moves, okay? So a transformation moves an original figure called the pre-image onto a new figure called the image. On the graph to the left, triangle ABC is the pre-image, and then this triangle is the image, and this little apostrophe here we read as prime. So this is triangle A prime, B prime, C prime. So point A has moved to point A prime, B has moved to B prime, and C has moved to C prime. A transformation can change the position, orientation, or size of a figure. So we can move it around on the graph. Orientation means the order that you read the points. So both of these read A, B, C, and then you can see that this is the same order of A, B, C. And then size would be making it bigger or smaller. So now, rigid motion. Rigid motion is when a transformation preserves the size and shape of a figure. So if you are moving your shape around, but the size of it doesn't change, and then the shape of it, like up here where we had a triangle and we ended with a triangle, and you can see that they still look the same, that's considered a rigid motion. There are 3 examples of rigid motion that we're going to focus on this week, and that's going to be a translation, a reflection, and a rotation. Okay, so for today, we are going to start focusing on translations. So a translation is when you are going to vertically and or horizontally slide a figure. So this is where we're going to be moving it up, down, left, right. Coordinate notation. So for each point, you know that you write your points as x comma y. For each point, we're going to take x and add or subtract a number, and then y and add or subtract a number. H is going to represent the horizontal shift, and then K will represent the vertical shift. So let me show you what this is going to look like. We'll just start ahead with our first example problem and show you like what's actually happening. Let me move this down a little bit. Okay, so we have rectangle QRST, and you've been given the vertices. These are the points. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to graph these 4 points. So -6, -1 is here, and we're going to label that as Q. -3, 1 is R. 1, -5 is S. And then -2, -7 is T. And I'm going to go ahead and connect those to form our rectangle. Okay. Now we need to graph it where xy has become x plus 5, y plus 7. So the first thing that I want us to note is that the plus 5 represents a horizontal shift and the plus 7 is a vertical shift. So this is going to be right 5, up 7. So all we're going to do is, I'm just going to start with point R because it's at the top. We're going to count to the right 5 and then up 7. That's going to be right up here at the top. And that is going to become R prime. Now for our next one, let's do Q. I'm going to go over 5 and up 7. And that's going to become Q prime. And now let's do S. And that becomes S prime. And then T. And that becomes T prime. Now I can connect them, and my two shapes should look exactly the same, be the same size. The sides should be the same length, but it just should be showing up someplace else on my graph. Now, there's two ways that we can move forward from here. We can either count where these points are to write out our coordinates at the bottom, or we can use our coordinate notation to figure that out. So let's do it this way. Q should end up at x plus 5, y plus 7. So negative 6 plus 5 is negative 1. And then negative 1 plus 7 is at 6. So if I find Q prime, it should be at negative 1, positive 6, which it is. And then we should have R at 2, 8. S prime should be at 6, 2, and then T prime is at 3, 0. Okay, let's look at example 2. Pick a different color here. So we're going to go ahead and graph our triangle CDE. So C is at 2, -1. D is at 7, -4. And E is at 4, -6. So here is my triangle. Now for our translation, it's x minus 3, y plus 8. So we are going left 3 and then up 8. So I'm just going to start at C. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That becomes C prime. D, 2, 3. Now here, you could have figured out your image points and then graphed them to make sure that you had done that correctly, or you could graph on, or you could count on the graph and then fill out your points. The order here doesn't matter so long as everything is done correctly. There we are. C is at -1, 7. D is at 4, 4. And E is at 1, 2. So just remember, translation represents a slide, and that's an up, down, left, right movement.